The chamber stretched vast and circular, its walls carved from crystal that had witnessed 10,000 years of galactic politics and power. Ambassador Elena Vasquez sat in the smallest chair at the outer ring, exactly where the council placed species they considered irrelevant or temporary. The Crithian representative rose from his platform, his chitinous body clicking and scraping as multiple limbs gestured toward the holographic display floating above the chamber floor. The display showed humanity's 12 core systems highlighted in pale blue against the darkness of space. Honored council members. War Prince Zektar's translator device rendered his clicks into flat, emotionless galactic standard. We gathered today to discuss an inefficiency that has plagued our union for 50 years. The human occupation of resource-rich systems, far beyond their capacity to properly utilize or defend. Elena felt her jaw tighten but kept her expression neutral. She had learned over 5 years as Earth's representative that showing emotion only confirmed their prejudices about humanity's primitive emotional nature. The Vorkund, Dominion's representative, a floating crystalline entity that shimmered with inner light, pulsed in agreement. The Crithians speak wisdom. Humanity has held these systems for 2 generations, yet their population barely reaches 30 billion across all worlds. My people alone number 400 billion and could make proper use of such valuable territory around the circular chamber. Representatives from 43 of the 47 council species murmured or signaled their agreement through whatever biological or technological means they possessed. Elena recognized the political reality unfolding before her. This was not a debate but a predetermined vote wrapped in diplomatic courtesy. The Galactic Council had existed for 7,000 years before humanity even discovered fire. Each species here had conquered their home systems millennia ago, had spread across dozens or hundreds of worlds, had populations numbering in the trillions. And here sat humanity, the newest members, admitted only after demonstrating functional faster-than-light travel just 50 years prior. Chancellor Vormix, an amphibious being whose species had mediated council affairs for 3,000 years, raised one webbed hand for attention. Ambassador Vasquez, you may present humanity's defense of your territorial claims. Elena stood, her simple gray suit a stark contrast to the elaborate environmental suits, energy fields, and exotic biology surrounding her. She walked to the center platform, her boots echoing in the vast chamber in a way that felt small and insignificant. Honored Chancellor, esteemed council members, she began, keeping her voice steady and clear. Humanity requests that the council honor the treaties signed upon our admission. We were granted sovereign rights to our core systems in perpetuity, with no provisions for forced redistribution. Treaties. War Prince Zektar's laugh translated as a harsh buzzing sound. Treaties written when we believed you might develop into something useful. 50 years of observation proves otherwise. You live barely 100 years. You breathe slowly. Your bodies break from a simple fall. You require constant supplies of water and specific atmospheric conditions. Your species has no natural weapons, added the Vorkund representative. Its crystalline structure, pulsing with colors that Elena's briefing materials said indicated contempt. No armor plating, no venom, no psionic abilities. You cannot even survive vacuum exposure for more than seconds. Honestly, Ambassador, what purpose does the Council serve in protecting such a fundamentally weak species? The murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber again. Elena had heard these arguments before in smaller meetings and private conversations. Humanity's physical fragility was a constant source of alien puzzlement and disdain. We ask only that you honor your agreements, Elena repeated, her voice carrying an edge now. We have broken no laws, threatened no species, failed no obligations. You waste resources. Zektar interrupted, his multiple limbs striking his platform for emphasis. 12 worlds that could support trillions host mere billions. You have FTL capability, yet barely 300 starships in your entire fleet. You spend more resources on art and philosophy than on proper military development. The galaxy has no room for species who refuse to reach their potential. Chancellor Vormix called for order. His voice amplified through the chamber. The Crithian hegemony has formally proposed. Resolution 7743. That humanity's core systems be redistributed among species with greater capacity and need, with humanity retaining Sol System and 3 colony worlds of their choosing. Ambassador Vasquez, do you wish to speak further before we vote? Elena looked around the chamber, seeing the decision already written in their postures and energy signatures. She thought of Earth, of Mars, of New Horizon and prosperity, and all the worlds where human children played and learned and dreamed. She thought of her briefings from Earth's intelligence services, the information that only a handful of people in all of humanity knew. You are making a terrible mistake, she said quietly, her words carrying in the acoustically perfect chamber. Not a legal mistake or a diplomatic one, a fundamental miscalculation about what drives humanity and what we are capable of when threatened. Threats. The Vorkon entity's colors shifted to what Elena recognized as amusement. From a species that required our assistance to even reach your second planet? From beings who die from minor infections we conquered millennia ago. Elena met the entity's approximation of a gaze. You judge us by your measures of strength, armor, venom, lifespan, psionic power. You see our short lives and assume weakness. You see our fragile bodies and assume helplessness. The vote, Chancellor Vormix interrupted, though Elena noticed something in his large eyes that might have been concern or perhaps pity. All in favor of Resolution 7743? 43 platforms lit with affirmative indicators. Only 4 abstained, the Melodian Collective, the Archivists, the Wandering Moon, and surprisingly, the Ancient Progenitor's automated representative. The Crithians and Vorkundu led a chorus of species eager to claim humanity's worlds. Resolution 7743 passes, Chancellor Vormix announced, his voice carrying a note of finality. Humanity has 30 standard days to evacuate all populations from the 9 systems designated for redistribution. Failure to comply will be met with appropriate pacification measures. This council stands adjourned. Elena stood alone on the platform as the representatives began filing out, many already discussing which worlds they would claim. She activated her personal communicator with a code that would reach Earth through quantum-entangled channels. Ambassador Vasquez to Earth Command, she said quietly, knowing that some aliens might overhear but not caring anymore. Authorization code Midnight Sun. They took the bait. Commence Operation Revelation. 30 days. The response came instantly. Admiral James Chun's voice tight with controlled emotion. Confirmed, Ambassador. The fleets are moving. They will learn what it means to threaten humanity. Chun out. Elena walked toward the exit, passing War Prince Zektar, who chittered something his translator rendered as, "Perhaps you can find work as entertainers or pets. Some species enjoy keeping primitive beings for amusement." She stopped and looked up at the towering insectoid warrior. In 31 days, War Prince, you will understand why humanity studied your wars. Your tactics, your history. We learned from you, all of you. We learned what happens to species who appear weak in a dangerous galaxy. Is that supposed to frighten me? Zektar buzzed with laughter. Elena smiled, a cold expression that never reached her eyes. No. A warning is meant to prevent disaster. But you have already chosen disaster, so now it is simply a statement of fact. She left the chamber without another word, her footsteps echoing one last time. Behind her, Chancellor Vormix watched her go and felt something he had not experienced in centuries of service dread of what might come next. Admiral James Chun stood in the command center of Olympus Station, the massive orbital fortress that hung above Mars like a steel moon. Before him stretched holographic displays showing 300 years of humanity's greatest secret, a secret so carefully guarded that even most of Earth's population did not know its full scope. Status report, Chun commanded, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of tactical displays. All fleet groups responding to mobilization orders. Commander Sarah Martinez reported from her station, her fingers dancing across haptic interfaces. Shipyards Alpha through Zeta confirm final launch is complete. We have 517,412 dreadnoughts at full operational status. Chun nodded, allowing himself a moment to appreciate the sheer magnitude of what humanity had accomplished. He remembered the day 300 years ago when the first alien ship had appeared in Earth's orbit, not with weapons or threats, but with offers of trade and membership in their galactic council. That day had changed everything. The holographic display shifted to show Admiral Kenji Yamamoto, speaking from a recording made 270 years prior, the man who had commanded Earth's defense forces during first contact. Today we learned we are not alone. Yamamoto's recorded image stated, his face grave and determined. We learned that the galaxy is ancient, filled with species who have conquered star systems while we were still figuring out agriculture. We learned that we are the youngest, the weakest, the most vulnerable. Chun knew this recording by heart. Every officer in the Terran Defense Initiative watched it during their training, understanding the philosophy that had driven 3 centuries of secret preparation. What do we do? The recorded Yamamoto continued. Do we trust that these advanced species will treat us fairly? That they will honor their treaties? That they will not one day decide that humanity's resources would be better utilized by others? Or do we learn from our own bloody history on Earth that peace through strength is the only reliable path? That preparation prevents disaster. That hoping for the best while preparing for the worst is not paranoia but wisdom. The recording faded, replaced by real-time feeds from across the solar system and beyond. Chun watched as squadrons of dreadnoughts emerged from hidden bases in the Kuiper Belt, from hollowed-out asteroids in the belt between Mars and Jupiter, from facilities buried beneath the ice of Europa and Enceladus. Show me the colonies, Chun ordered. The display zoomed out, showing humanity's territory across 67 star systems, far more than the 12 core systems the Council knew about. Every colony the Council recognized as agricultural or research outposts had been a front for military construction. Every civilian station had concealed weapons factories and antimatter production facilities. New Horizon shipyards report 100% readiness, Martinez announced. Prosperity Station's fleet group is already in position. Avalon's defensive platforms are armed and synchronized with Fleet Command. Chun thought about the thousands of engineers, the millions of workers, the entire generations who had built this force in absolute secrecy. Humanity had learned automation and artificial intelligence, construction techniques that would have shocked the older species machines building machines. AI managing logistics on scales that organic minds found difficult to comprehend. How did we hide this from their sensors? A young lieutenant asked from a nearby station. It was her first day on Olympus. Her clearance just upgraded to see the full scope of the Terran Defense Initiative. We didn't hide it, Chun replied, allowing himself a slight smile. We disguised it. Every dreadnought hull registered as a cargo hauler or mining ship. Every weapons platform appeared as a communication relay. Our antimatter containment signatures matched civilian power generation. We showed them what they expected to see: a weak species, barely capable of maintaining 300 starships. And they believed it, Martinez added, her voice carrying a note of satisfaction, because it fit their assumptions about us. They never questioned whether a species that appeared so fragile might be compensating through industrial capacity and technological innovation. The display shifted again, showing the Council's intelligence estimates of human military capability. 312 ships, mostly light cruisers and escorts, with perhaps another 100 under construction. Defensive platforms around Earth, Mars, and a few colonies. No strategic weapons beyond basic kinetic missiles. Projected military growth rate suggesting humanity might reach Council minimum defense standards in another 200 years. Chun had read those estimates and felt both triumph and sadness. Triumph that humanity's deception had worked so perfectly. Sadness that it had been necessary at all. Admiral, a communications officer, called out. Ambassador Vasquez's signal confirmed. The Council voted exactly as predicted. They have given us 30 days to evacuate 9 systems. Which systems did they target? Chun asked, though he already knew. New Horizon, Prosperity, Avalon, Freedom's Gate, Hope's End, Covenant, Liberty Prime, Sanctuary, and Darwin's World. The officer read from the list. Basically everything except Sol and our 2 oldest colonies. Chun studied the star map. Seeing the pattern, they had chosen humanity's most productive agricultural worlds and richest resource systems. Calculated insult designed to cripple human expansion and reduce them to permanent dependence on Council support. They could not have chosen better for us, Martinez observed. New Horizon is our most heavily fortified system. If they want a demonstration, that is the perfect stage. What are our losses projected at? The young lieutenant asked quietly. Chen turned to face her, seeing in her eyes the question every human commander had wrestled with. Were they willing to kill and die to defend their freedom? Lieutenant, do you know why we built so many ships? Deterrence, sir? Deterrence is the goal, Chen agreed, but overkill is the method. We built 500,000 dreadnoughts so we would never need to use them, so that any species contemplating aggression against humanity would do the math and realize the cost would be unacceptable. He gestured at the displays, showing the vast fleet. Every ship represents 10,000 tons of metal mined from asteroids. Every reactor uses antimatter produced over decades. Every weapon system incorporates technology we developed by studying everyone else's wars and learning from their mistakes. This fleet represents 300 years of continuous effort by billions of people. And if deterrence fails? The lieutenant pressed. Then we use exactly enough force to end the conflict permanently, Chun stated, his voice hard as the steel hulls surrounding them. Not through genocide or conquest, we are not that species, but through such overwhelming demonstration of capability that no rational actor would ever threaten us again. The displays updated with fleet movements. First fleet positioning near New Horizon. Second and third fleets moving to defensive positions around Sol and humanity's oldest colonies. Fourth through seventh fleets deploying to secure all core systems simultaneously. Hundreds of thousands of ships moving in perfect coordination. Their quantum-entangled communication systems, allowing real-time command and control across light years. Send orders to all fleet commanders, Chun instructed. Rules of engagement. Do not fire first. Do not target civilian vessels. Do not pursue retreating forces beyond system boundaries. If fired upon, respond with overwhelming but proportional force. Our goal is to defend our people and demonstrate capability, not to conquer or commit atrocities. Message sent and confirmed. Admiral, the communications officer reported. Chun looked at the countdown timer. 29 days. 18 hours until the Council's deadline. In reality, he suspected they had less time. Intelligence suggested the Crithians might attack early, believing humanity would use the full 30 days to evacuate rather than prepare a defense. What happens if they surrender immediately when they see our fleet? Martinez asked, Then we accept their surrender, protect their forces from harm, and return them to the Council with a polite but firm message that humanity will not be threatened. Chen replied. But Commander, you have studied Krithian psychology and military doctrine. What is the probability they surrender without testing us? Martinez checked her tactical analysis displays, based on historical data and cultural assessment. Less than 3%. They will assume we are using drones or projecting false sensor images. They will believe we are bluffing right up until the moment we prove otherwise. Chun nodded slowly, his expression grim. Then we prepare to prove otherwise. And when this is done, when the Council realizes what we have built and what we can do, they will face a choice. Accept us as equals and partners in peace, or understand that any war against humanity would destroy their civilization as surely as it would damage ours. The holographic display showed the fleet, 500,000 steel titans, each crewed by volunteers who understood they might be called to defend humanity's right to exist as a free and sovereign species. Weapons that could crack planets, shields that could withstand stellar radiation, engines that could cross light years in days. 300 years, Chun said quietly, speaking to everyone on the command deck. 300 years of sacrifice and preparation for a day we hoped would never come. Our parents built these ships. There. War Queen Zarda stood on the command throne of the Dreadnought Conqueror's mandate, her multiple eyes tracking the holographic display showing New Horizons system ahead. Behind her, 5,000 Krithian warships dropped from faster-than-light travel in perfect attack formation, the largest military fleet assembled in Council space in 300 years. Status? She clicked to her tactical coordinator, the sounds translating through neural interfaces to every command station. All vessels reporting combat ready. Scanning indicates minimal human presence. We count 43 vessels in system, all appearing to be civilian transports. Planetary defenses show only 12 orbital platforms, all of outdated design. The coordinator reported, his mandibles clicking with satisfaction. Schartz felt disappointment wash through her battle-focused mind. She had hoped the humans might at least attempt resistance, might provide some support before inevitable submission. Instead, they appeared to be fleeing like frightened prey creatures. The 30 days expired 6 hours ago, she announced to her fleet. By Council resolution and Krithian law, this system now belongs to the hegemony. All human vessels have 12 minutes to surrender or evacuate beyond system boundaries. Any military resistance will be met with complete destruction. The human vessels continued their apparent flight toward the edge of the system, their drives flaring with what Krithian sensors registered as maximum civilian propulsion. No weapons activation, no defensive formations, no communication attempts, just panicked escape. They abandoned their colony without even a protest. War Prince Zektar observed from his position aboard the Blood Symphony. I told the Council these creatures were fundamentally weak. They have no honor, no concept of defending what is theirs. Zar thus chittered agreement. Begin bombardment of military targets. Destroy all orbital platforms and ground-based defense installations. Spare civilian infrastructure as per Council regulations. We will need those facilities intact for proper colonization. The fleet moved forward, weapons charging with the distinctive energy signatures that had made Krithian military doctrine feared across a dozen neighboring sectors. Kinetic impactors, plasma lances, fusion warheads, armaments honed through 10,000 years of warfare against worthy opponents. The first salvo struck New Horizons orbital platforms. Explosions blossomed in silence as metal and energy met and converted to heat and destruction. The platforms, as predicted, offered no meaningful resistance. Their shields collapsed within seconds. Their automated weapons barely scratched Krithian armor ground installations targeted. The weapons coordinator announced, firing solution calculated for minimal collateral damage. The space around the Crithian fleet shivered, not metaphorically, but literally, as though reality itself bent and warped. Zarthus' sensors screamed warnings about massive faster-than-light signatures. Thousands of them, all emerging simultaneously. "What?" she began. But her words died as the void itself seemed to give birth to ships. They appeared in a sphere around the Crithian fleet. Perfect three-dimensional positioning that required computing power beyond anything Zarthus had encountered. 50,000 vessels, each one larger than the Crithians' heaviest dreadnoughts. Each one painted in the deep gray of Earth's night sky with silver stars marking their hulls. 50,000 human dreadnoughts. Emerging from FTL with mathematical precision, their weapons already charged and locked. Their formation suggesting military discipline that made Crithian tactics look primitive by comparison, impossible. Zektar's panic transmission crackled across fleet channels. Humans do not have such ships. They do not have such numbers. Our intelligence. Your intelligence was exactly what we wanted you to believe. A new voice interrupted on all frequencies, calm. Human, speaking perfect Crithian through translation algorithms. I am Admiral James Chun of the Terran Defense Fleet. You have fired upon civilian evacuation transports and targeted inhabited worlds. You have exactly one opportunity to power down your weapons, reverse course, and leave this system. Refuse, and we will demonstrate why humanity does not make idle threats. Zarthus stared at the tactical display, her combat-trained mind processing the reality. The Crithian fleet was completely surrounded, outgunned by factors she could barely calculate, positioned so that any maneuver would bring them into direct firing solutions from multiple directions. This must be some deception. She clicked urgently. These cannot all be real vessels scanned for holographic projections. Verify mass signatures. Mass signatures confirmed, her science coordinator reported. Voice trembling with confusion. Energy readings consistent with active antimatter reactors. Weapon signatures indicate railgun systems capable of significant kinetic damage. Shield generators operating at power levels exceeding our own by factors of 3 to 5. They're bluffing. Zektar interrupted on command channel, his click sharp with anger born of fear. They're hoping we'll retreat without testing them. No species develops such capability in secret. It violates every principle of galactic military intelligence. Unless, Zarthus said slowly, her tactical mind cutting through pride and assumption. Unless they never intended us to know. Unless this entire time, while we dismissed them as weak and primitive, they were preparing for exactly this moment. You have 30 seconds to begin powering down your weapons. Admiral Chun's voice came again. I am uploading tactical data showing how we have targeted every vessel in your fleet. Note the precision. We are locked onto your weapon systems, your engines, your life support. We can disable you without destroying you. But if you fire again on civilian targets, we will not hesitate to defend our people with lethal force. Zar. This display updated with the data Chen mentioned, showing firing solutions so precise they could target individual systems on every ship simultaneously. The computational power required for such coordination exceeded anything in Crithian military doctrine. War Queen. Her tactical coordinator clicked urgently. Their calculations are perfect. If they fire as indicated, we would lose 97% of combat capability within the first 15 seconds. And they have ammunition reserves to sustain such firing for. He paused, checking numbers that seemed impossible. For continuous engagement lasting 17 days at maximum rate. Around her, Zarthus heard the clicks and buzzes of her command crew, realizing what she had already understood. They had been deceived completely. Humanity had not been weak. They had been waiting. War Queen. Zektar's transmission came again. We cannot show weakness before lesser species. We must attack, must test their resolve. You wish to test whether they will kill you? Zardis interrupted, her voice carrying the authority of supreme command. Very well. Blood Symphony, you may fire on the human fleet. The rest of us will observe the results. Silence on the channel. Zektar's vessel hung motionless among the Crithian formation. Weapons charged, but not firing. I thought not. Zardis clicked quietly. She opened channels to her entire fleet. Power down weapons. Maintain shields at defensive levels only. Prepare to receive coordinates for system exit. War Queen, no. Several voices protested simultaneously. Our honor, our reputation. We'll survive to fight another day, Zardis snapped. Or did you think honor meant dying stupidly? These humans have demonstrated capability. They have shown mercy by offering terms. Only a fool ignores both data and opportunity for survival. She opened a direct channel to Admiral Chun. Human Commander, this is War Queen Zardis. Your demonstration has been educational. We will withdraw as you have requested. But know that the Council will hear of this deception, that you have built weapons in violation of which treaty? Chun interrupted, his voice still calm but now carrying an edge of steel. Show me the clause that limits our defensive preparations. Show me where we agreed to remain weak for your convenience. We built these ships in our own systems, using our own resources, threatening no one until someone threatened us. Then why hide your strength? Zardis demanded, genuinely curious despite her precarious situation. Because deterrence only works when there's a reason to test it. Chun replied, if you had known our capability from the beginning, you would have either left us alone, which would be acceptable, or you would have convinced the entire council to unite against us before we finished building. This way, we defended ourselves against actual aggression, not hypothetical threats. This considered this. The human was not wrong. If the Council had known about 500,000 human dreadnoughts during humanity's first contact, fear would have driven coalition and preventive war. You are wise. Human Chun, she clicked, wiser than we gave you credit for. Perhaps, War Queen, look at this. Her science coordinator interrupted, his voice pitched with alarm. I am detecting additional human vessels. They are emerging throughout Crithian space, in orbit around our colonies. The tactical display updated catastrophically. Human fleets appearing near every major Crithian world. Not in attack positions, but in clear overwatch positions. Silent, watchful. Overwhelming. This is Commander Sarah Martinez of the Terran Second Fleet. A new voice announced on all Crithian channels. We are currently in position near all hegemony core systems. We are not here to attack, not here to conquer. We are here to ensure that any response to Admiral Chun's fleet. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in chaos. Species representatives arrived through various faster-than-light methods. Their holographic avatars flickering into existence around the circular chamber with unprecedented urgency. Some appeared in obvious states of alarm, having been pulled from sleep or important functions. Others broadcast from warships, already racing toward defensive positions around their homeworld. Chancellor Varmix struck his ceremonial gong 3 times, the sound reverberating through translation systems in ways each species found impossible to ignore. This council will come to order. We convene under Emergency Protocol 7. Immediate existential threat 2. Council stability and member security. Existential threat? The Vorkon representative pulsed with colors indicating sarcasm and anger. The only threat is humanity's deception. They have built weapons in violation of nothing. Ambassador Elena Vasquez interrupted, her avatar appearing calm and professional as always, though some representatives noticed a slight smile playing at the corners of her mouth. I have reviewed every treaty, every agreement, every protocol signed during humanity's admission to this council. Nowhere does it restrict our right to build defensive capabilities. Nowhere does it require we disclose military capacity beyond minimum. Transparency for Council security, which we have provided. You told us you had 300 ships. The Crithian War Prince Sektar accused, his mandibles clicking rapidly with agitation. No, Elena corrected, her voice precise and measured. Your intelligence services estimated we had 300 ships. We never confirmed or denied those estimates. We simply allowed you to see what you expected to see, a Bea, young species struggling to maintain minimal defense forces. And in reality? The Melodian Collective's representative asked, their harmonic voice carrying genuine curiosity rather than anger. Elena gestured, and holographic displays materialized throughout the chamber showing sensor data, tactical reports, and mathematical analysis. In reality, the Terran Defense Initiative has spent 300 years building 517,412 dreadnoughts, each comparable to or exceeding Council standard capital ship specifications. We've deployed these vessels to defensive positions around all human colonies and, as the Crithian hegemony can confirm, demonstrated our willingness to use them when our civilian populations are attacked. The chamber erupted in simultaneous translations of shock, denial, fear, and calculation. Representatives conferred urgently with their home governments through quantum-entangled channels. Tactical analysts across the galaxy confirmed what their sensors had already reported. The numbers were real. The ships were functional, and humanity had somehow accomplished the impossible. This is an act of war, the Vorkand representative declared, its crystalline structure flashing with hostile colors, building such forces in secret, positioning them near Council worlds without permission. Those vessels near your worlds. Admiral Chan's avatar appeared beside Elena's, wearing full dress uniform with rows of commendations from conflicts no Council member had known humanity fought. Are there purely to ensure that any aggressive response to our defensive actions at New Horizon would be counterproductive. They have orders not to fire unless fired upon. They will withdraw to human space once this Council acknowledges our territorial sovereignty. But why? Chancellor Vormix asked, his amphibious features showing confusion that transcended species boundaries. Why build such overwhelming force if you truly seek only peace? Why deceive us for 3 centuries? Elena's expression softened slightly. Chancellor, with respect, humanity learned certain lessons from our own history on Earth. For thousands of years before we unified, we fought among ourselves, tribe against tribe, nation against nation, ideology against ideology. We learned that hoping for peace while remaining weak invites aggression. We learned that treaties without enforcement are just polite suggestions. We learned that those who cannot defend themselves become subjects or victims. She brought up historical data from Earth. When humanity achieved nuclear weapons, many nations pursued them simultaneously because no nation trusted that others would show restraint. When we reached space, every major Earth power built independent programs because relying on others for access to orbit was strategically untenable. When you contacted us 300 years ago, we faced the same calculation. Trust that you would treat us fairly forever, or prepare to defend ourselves if you did not. So you chose deception, the archivist's ancient avatar observed, its voice carrying neither judgment nor approval. Merely statement of fact, we chose survival, Admiral Chun corrected. And we chose to give peace every possible chance. If the Council had honored its treaties, if you had treated us as equals, despite our youth and physical limitations, you would never have known about our military capacity. We would have continued our deception indefinitely, reducing forces slowly as trust built over centuries. But we forced your hand. Wara Queen Czar, this avatar, appeared, her clicks carrying a note of respect. By threatening your colonies, we required you to reveal what you had built. Now the galaxy knows what you are capable of. Now the galaxy knows. Elena agreed. And now the galaxy must decide. Do you want us as enemies or as friends? Do you want to test our capabilities in extended war, or acknowledge that humanity deserves to exist as a free and sovereign species? You speak of choice as though you have not already conquered us. Zektar buzzed angrily. Your weapons could destroy every council world. You have the power to dictate terms. We have the power, Elena acknowledged, but we lack the desire. Admiral Chun, please share the Terran Defense Doctrine with the Council. Chun brought up documents that appeared in every representative's native language. This doctrine governs all Terran military actions. Note Section 3. Humanity shall not initiate wars of conquest, shall not target civilian populations deliberately, shall not pursue defeated enemies beyond reasonable security requirements, and shall not use military force to compel political or economic concessions from other species. We built our fleet to defend, not conquer. Words. The Vorkon representative pulsed dismissively. Any species can claim benevolent intentions while building weapons. How do we know you will honor these principles? Elena allowed her smile to grow. Because we are going to prove it. Ambassador Chun and I are authorized to present the Terran Security Initiative to this council. Any species who wishes to participate may request Terran protection against external threats or internal conflicts. We will deploy our vessels to defend member species according to mutually agreed terms, asking nothing in return except recognition of our sovereignty and commitment to peaceful coexistence. The chamber fell silent as representatives processed the implications. Humanity was offering to become the galaxy's protector, deploying overwhelming military force, not for conquest but for collective defense. This is unprecedented. Chancellor Vormik said slowly. No species has ever possessed such capability and offered to use it for others without demanding tribute or territory. No species has ever been humanity. Elena replied simply, we are young, yes. We are physically fragile, true. But we are also adaptable, innovative, and deeply committed to principles we developed through thousands of years of hard experience. We believe that peace through strength is preferable to peace through submission. We believe that defending the weak from the strong is not just pragmatic, but morally necessary. We believe that the galaxy is better served by cooperation than domination. And if we refuse your protection? Zektar asked, his voice suspicious. Then you refuse it. Admiral Chun answered with a shrug. We are not offering occupation or forced alliances. Any species who wishes to maintain their own defense forces and handle their own security is absolutely free to do so. Our offer stands only for those who see value in it. The tactical implications rippled through the chamber as representatives conferred with their governments. Any species accepting humanity's offer would effectively be untouchable. Any species refusing would be isolated, vulnerable not just to human power, but to any aggressive neighbors who might see opportunity. Humanity had just divided the council without firing a shot. You are clever, the archivist's representative observed. Offering protection fractures any coalition that might form against you. Those who accept become your clients. Those who refuse become isolated. Within a generation, humanity will dominate galactic politics not through conquest but through voluntary dependence. Or, Elena countered, within a generation, the galaxy will be more peaceful because aggressive species will know that any attack triggers not just the victim's defense, but potentially humanity's response. Piracy will decline because our fleets patrol trade routes. Smaller species will thrive because they no longer fear larger neighbors. Technological development will accelerate because resources currently spent on defense can be redirected to research and development. She stood from her platform, her avatar moving to the center of the chamber. You see conspiracy and domination because that is how power has always worked in the Council. But humanity offers something different, not because we are morally superior, but because we learned from watching you. We saw how the strong prey on the weak. We saw how military. 10 years had passed since the day humanity revealed its strength to the galaxy. Admiral James Chun walked slowly through the memorial gardens on New Horizon, his aging body moving with the careful deliberation of a man who had retired from active service but carried the weight of history in every step. Gardens stretched across 50 acres of carefully maintained landscape, featuring plants from Earth, New Horizon, and 30 other worlds whose species had contributed to what locals called the Garden of Unity. At its center stood a simple monument, a black stone pillar inscribed with the names of the 43 civilians killed in the Crythian bombardment before the Terran fleet arrived. They always said you military types arrived too late, a voice called from behind him. Warm and familiar, Chen turned to see Elena Vasquez approaching. Her hair now silver, but her eyes still sharp with the intelligence that had guided humanity through its most delicate political negotiations. Grand Ambassador, I didn't know you were visiting New Horizon. I come every year on this date, Elena replied, joining him before the memorial, to remember why we built what we built, why we did what we did. These 43 people died because we were not fast enough, not visible enough with our deterrent. 43 deaths to save billions, Chun observed quietly. The mathematics are clear, but the loss still hurts. They stood in silence for a moment. Two aging architects of humanity's new position in the galaxy. Remembering the day that changed everything. Walk with me? Elena suggested, and they moved together through the gardens toward the overlook that showed New Horizon's primary city, a gleaming metropolis of 5 million humans and, notably, representatives from 16 other species who had established permanent embassies or commercial ventures. When I see this, Chun gestured at the thriving city. I wonder if we made the right choices. Not the strategic choices, those were sound, but the philosophical ones. Did become the very thing we sought to prevent? Did we become the dominant military power that shapes galactic politics through implicit threat? Elena considered his question carefully. Do you remember the briefing we received from the Melodian Collective last month? The one about piracy incidents in the outer reaches? Down 93% over the last decade, Chun recalled, attributed to regular Terran fleet patrols. And do you remember the economic data from the archivists? Elena continued. Trade volume up 400%. Technological exchange accelerating. 15 new species achieving FDL capability with human technical assistance. 0 wars between council members since our revelation. Statistics can be made to support any narrative, Chun countered. Though his tone suggested he was playing devil's advocate rather than truly disagreeing. They can, Elena agreed. But ask yourself this. How many species have requested Terran fleets leave their space? How many have claimed we are oppressive or tyrannical? How many have formed coalitions to challenge our position? None, Chen admitted, though the Crythians and Vorkan remain hostile. Hostile but peaceful, Elena noted. They posture and complain in council sessions, but they haven't launched a single aggressive action in 10 years. Even Zektar, who argued loudest for war, now serves as Crythian ambassador and occasionally, very occasionally acknowledges that humanity's approach has benefits. They reach the overlook. Looking down at the city and beyond to the orbital platforms where 3 Terran dreadnoughts hung in permanent station, their hulls catching the light of New Horizon's sun. I see those ships, Chun said softly, and I remember every person who built them, every generation that sacrificed normal life to construct our deterrent. 500,000 ships crewed by volunteers who believe in defending humanity's freedom. Most of them never fired a shot in anger, Elena observed. Isn't that the highest achievement of a military, to be so effective that war becomes unnecessary? In theory, Chen agreed, but I commanded fleets, Elena. I know what happens to military organizations over time. They develop institutional interests. They seek to justify their existence. They begin to see problems that only military solutions can solve. Are we certain that future generations of Terran commanders will show the same restraint we practiced? No, Elena answered honestly. We are not certain. But we built safeguards. The defense doctrine requires civilian oversight. The Security Council seat gives other species input on Terran military deployments. The transparency protocols ensure our movements and capabilities are known to prevent miscalculation. And most importantly, we created a culture within the Terran defense fleet that values restraint as highly as capability. A young officer approached them. Saluting crisply, Admiral Chun, Grand Ambassador Vasquez. I apologize for interrupting, but the ceremony is about to begin. They followed the officer to the main memorial plaza, where several thousand people had gathered, humans, Melodians, archivists, even a small delegation of young Crithians whose clicking mandibles suggested they were students rather than warriors. The annual remembrance service honored not just the 43 civilians lost, but the principle for which humanity had revealed its strength. Chancellor Vormix stood at the podium, his aged features showing the years, but also a kind of peace that had been absent during the crisis. Friends and colleagues from across the galaxy. His translated words carried through the plaza. We gather today to remember a moment that changed our civilization. 10 years ago, humanity demonstrated that military power and moral restraint could coexist. That overwhelming capability need not lead to conquest. That the strong could choose to protect rather than dominate. He gestured to where Chun and Elena stood. These two individuals, along with countless others, made choices that shaped our current era. They chose to build in secret rather than provoke preventive war. They chose to reveal their strength only when attacked rather than use it for territorial expansion. They chose to offer protection rather than demand tribute. History will debate whether these were the optimal choices, but none can debate that they were brave choices. The ceremony continued with speeches from various species representatives, each offering their perspective on the last decade. The Melodian Collective praised humanity's cultural exchange programs. The archivists acknowledged technological collaboration that had advanced their research by centuries. Even the Crithian students, through their translator, expressed appreciation for Terran protection of smaller species who might otherwise have faced Crithian aggression after the ceremony. Chun and Elena found themselves approached by a young human cadet, barely 20 years old, wearing the uniform of the Terran Naval Academy. Admiral Chun? I was hoping to ask you something, sir. Of course, Chun replied, seeing in this young woman's eyes the same determination that had driven his own generation. Why did we build so many ships if we hoped we would never use them? The cadet asked, echoing a question Chun had heard countless times over the decades. It seems like we wasted resources on weapons we intended to keep sheathed. Chun smiled, remembering asking a similar question when he was young. Tell me, cadet, why do you lock your door at night? To prevent intrusion, sir. Have you ever been burglarized? No, sir. Then by your logic, shouldn't you stop locking your door since you have never needed that security? Chun asked gently. The cadet frowned, thinking through the analogy. But the lock is a deterrent. It makes burglary less likely in the first place. Exactly. Chun confirmed. We build 500,000 dreadnoughts for the same reason you lock your door. Not because we expected to use them, but because their existence makes using them unnecessary. Peace is not the absence of capacity for war. Peace is the discipline to maintain that capacity while choosing not to employ it unless absolutely required. But sir, the cadet pressed, doesn't having such power tempt us to use it? Don't we risk becoming the very threat we built the fleet to prevent? An excellent question, Elena interjected, and one every generation must answer for themselves. The fleet exists to defend humanity and our allies. It must never become a tool of conquest or oppression. That responsibility falls to people like you, officers who understand that power without wisdom is tyranny, but power with restraint is civilization's shield. How do I know I'll make the right choices? The cadet asked quietly. Chun placed a hand on her shoulder. You won't always. None of us did. I made mistakes during my command that I still regret. But you will face each decision with the knowledge that others are watching, that history will judge you, and that the principles we established are guidelines meant to prevent the worst errors. Trust in your training. Consult with your colleagues. Remember why the fleet exists, and never forget that every shot fired should be a failure of diplomacy we tried to prevent. The cadet saluted and departed, leaving Chen and Elena watching the sunset over New Horizons skyline. Do you think she understood? Elena asked. She will, Chen replied. In time. Understanding power is easy. Understanding restraint takes a lifetime. They stood together as the three dreadnoughts overhead began their nightly patrol, their running lights tracing patterns across the darkening sky. Chen thought about the 500,000 ships like them, spread across